Well, hi there. I'm Sandy Allnock for Ellen Hudson with another watercolor tip for you. This week we're going to talk about graduated washes or graded washes. Lots of different names for them, but they are all basically trying to get a color to go from dark at the top to light at the bottom. And it could be the reverse, but usually you paint it in the direction of dark at the top. And you're going to fully load your brush. And I've had some people wonder, what does fully loading mean? It means you're going to mix up enough paint that you can sop up paint into the whole brush. Because if you have any water inside that brush, inside those bristles in that fat part of the brush, and you press down with the brush, it's going to squish water out into your paint. And that's going to change the consistency of it. And you're going to have water that's just going to, like if you did that right there, what I was just doing, and there was water in there, you'd have big pools and big blooms of water coming out. So right here, I'm just filling it with paint. I want it super saturated. I even went and picked up more paint so I could really get a lot in there because you want to keep this wet, and that leading edge is where you want that paint to start collecting. You can see it getting a little darker right there at the bottom. So I dipped my brush into just a tiny bit of water, and I'll add successively more water with each layer, but I'm going to paint in strips. So here's the next strip down, and I'm going to paint it and then connect it to the one above. And my board is at about a 30% grade, which means the angle of it is tilted up. So I put just, a couple books underneath of it. You can put a roll of tape under it, whatever it takes to make your board at an angle so that gravity pulls the paint down. You want it to pull the paint down into the watered down area, because every time you take your brush to the water, you're adding more water. If it doesn't pull down, then the water is going to bloom back up into the wash. And that's when you're going to get those little spidery blooms reaching up into it. You may want that, but I'm trying to teach you how to do one where you don't have that. But you can see every time I dip into the water, I have just a little bit lighter color, and I paint a strip and then add enough above it to start pulling that paint down and give it somewhere to run. Because watercolor wants to move, especially when you do this on good watercolor paper. If you do this on student grade paper, just know that you may get pooling. This color will not soak into the paper like it's doing here. This is cold press paper from Arches, and it does a good job of taking the paint into the fibers of the paper. A lot of the student grades will just let it sit on top, so you'll have potentially a little bit of pooling if you try this on the less expensive paper. So I'm getting down to the bottom here, and I'm watching what's going on at the top with my eyes while I'm finishing the painting down at the bottom. Because I'm trying to decide, am I going to go back and fix that? Because it's not looking really great. I've got some strips going on. So I've dabbed off my brush, because first I want to take that extra pool of water at the bottom and soak that up. This is called a thirsty brush. It's a brush that doesn't have a lot of water or paint in it, so it's going to soak up anything that it touches. So first I'm going to take out that excess at the bottom, because I didn't want it pooling up there. And then I was debating, do I go back in here? And I started. And this is one of those things, like once you start, you have to keep going. You can't just stop in the middle and go, oh no, I messed it up. So if you start down this road, just keep going. I went and loaded my brush back up again, because now I'm like, oh shoot, I've messed this up. And I start working my way back up. You could start from the top and go down again. As long as this is wet and not damp, you're going to be okay. But right now, I'm getting into an area right up at the top that's damp. It's not wet necessarily. So it's wet where I've just added more color, but that very top strip, you can still see a line there. But I'm going to go fix that, so hang tight, stay with me. I figured while my brush was moving down, I'm going to keep it moving down, and I went back up and I loaded my brush one more time so that I could put more color at the top. Now the wash is getting darker, so that's just what you're going to have happen if you keep going over and keep working into it this way. But all of a sudden I went, okay, enough is enough. Don't touch it anymore. It's starting to work perfectly. So you can work into them. It's nice if you can just make it all in one pass. That's great, but sometimes you can't. Now this one, I'm going to wet the entire rectangle first. And I'm not pooling water on it. So again, if you're using the student grade paper, you want to be extra careful to dab up anything that's pooling and getting too soppy, because you don't want this to run completely. Some people like when the bloom goes down the page. but I like to be in a little more control of exactly how far it goes down and how fast. Now, some of you are also going to wonder why I'm not using a big wash brush for this, and I wanted to show you with a number 8 brush that you can do this with a round brush. This is a number 8 round from the Silver Brush Company. You don't have to go out and get a special brush to do a wash. You can do it this way, but one of those other brushes might help you some. So if you want to go get one, that's fine. I'll list them in the description and on the blog post. But you can see when I added the water to it first, I just have a lot more flexibility here. I have the ability to move this a lot more. It's still wet at the top. I can still work on it. There's like a little spot in there that looks like it might be acting a little funky on me. So I'm just going to give it a second. And then I went back in. I loaded my brush up with color again, going from the top. And I'm just going to go over this with, as you want to do it, as few strokes as you can. I'm laying the brush kind of on its side because I want to just get a few strokes down so I can try to make this as even as possible. And in the pinnable graphic that you're going to see in a minute and that you can pin to your Pinterest board over on Ellen Hutson's blog, you'll see it came out really nice when it dried. I was so excited to finally get a good one on camera because this is not an easy skill to do. Over on the blog, you can pick up this little graphic that you can pin to your watercolor tips board on Pinterest and remind yourself of some of the tips that I've given you today, and that'll link you to the video so you can go watch it again anytime you want. You can also pick up a free downloadable to put on the back of little 2x2 cards with swatches so that you can keep a swatch record of what we're learning. Thanks so much. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.